Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bible reading plan. Today we are in chapter 17 of the book of Acts, and we see Paul and Silas have success in Thessalonica, and then they have success in Berea on their mission. But when they get to Athens, it kind of shifts. And I love this verse in verse 6. It says, "And when they could not find them, they dragged Jason and some of the brothers before the city authorities, shouting, 'These men who have turned the world upside down have come here also.'" And it's awesome because everyone is freaking out. The people who aren't accepting Christ are freaking out. They're saying, "He is turning the world upside down." These guys are turning the world upside down. And it's cool because it's not the world that's being turned upside down that is being turned upside down. It's being turned right side up by Paul and his gospel, because the gospel of Jesus is taking the world and putting it back to what it was meant to be. You know, the world has turned upside down, and Paul is just sharing the truth, the real truth about existence, about the world, and about Jesus, about our God. And we go on and we see Paul in Athens, and if we know what Athens is like, you know the philosophers, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, all these guys who are thinkers, great famous thinkers, the fathers of ancient philosophy. And we see this kind of culture in Athens of great thinkers, and what they love to do, it kind of sums it up well in verse 21. "Now all the Athenians and their foreigners who lived there would spend their time in nothing except telling and hearing something new." Something new. So they would spend all of their time in a place called the Areopagus, telling something new and talking about philosophical ideas and thinking about new ideas. But the thing is about something new is, if you're looking for God, then you're probably not going to find him in the new. And nowadays we have this thing called the New Age. The New Age is spirituality, and it's ushering in so many kinds of spiritual practices. We have meditation, we have manifesting, we have crystals now that can tell you certain things. You have fortune reading, you have tarot cards, you have all of these type of, I would say, demonic things, these spiritual things going on, these new age things. They're just new ideas that have kind of been cycled over and over and over throughout history. But these guys were really religious because they followed the pantheon of Rome, which they, were born into. But I think right here we see something, as Paul calls them very religious, but we see something that I believe they've done, and I believe they've boxed in God. They take the idea that Paul tells them about God, and they say, that is a good idea. That's interesting, but I'm going to move on to something new. You see, nothing could ever pierce their hearts because it was all in their mind. And I see this as a philosopher in college currently, as I am about to graduate a philosophy degree. I see this. When I talk about Jesus, when I talk about God at college, people say, that's an interesting philosophy, that's an interesting idea. But they see it in the head, but they cannot ever see it in the heart. Their head and their heart are totally separated. The 8 inches between their head and their heart is just totally disconnected. And what they do is they worship their intellect, and their God is their mind. And that's what I see these Athenians doing. They're saying, okay, that's a cool idea, but let's keep going. Let's keep developing these ideas. They never want to seek truth. They just want to find the rush, the thrill of the question. And they've boxed in God. They've boxed in God. So I want to ask you today, where in your life have you boxed in God? Are you over intellectualizing? Let's try that again. Are you over intellectualizing God? That's a hard word. Are you taking God and saying, he's this big guy in the sky. He's not really personal to me. Can't really have a relationship with him. So I'm going to go to church. I'm going to praise the Lord. But then when I go to the grocery store, when I go to work, when I go to family gatherings, when I go home, that's not going to be a time where I worship God or think about God or cultivate a relationship with God. I'll act like God is my God in church in this hour a week where everyone else says, where it's it's culturally accepted, but that's the box that God fits in. That's God's part of my life. God can't tell me what to do anywhere else. Well, a lot of us box in God, and I would just like to ask you, where in your life are you boxing him in? Where in your life have you not allowed him to permeate and fill up? Because if you're boxing in God, you're really not limiting him. You're only limiting yourself. You're only limiting your access to your Creator, which he died. He sent his son to die on the cross so you could have access to him. So the only thing you're doing is damaging yourself. And all of us do this from time to time. We box in God. We say, Lord, you're not, you don't belong in this area of my life. I want to do what I want to do here, and then I'm going to worship you here. We make boundaries, but there's no boundaries with the Creator of the heavens and the earth, right? So I would just ask you today, lean in to God. Open your heart to God. Ask him to connect the mind and the heart fully, so where you can know that you know God exists and he wants a relationship with you, and you can have that relationship in your heart with the Creator of the world. And that causes you to lean into the Word, to allow God to, conduct your decisions. Every decision you make, you ask God beforehand. So I thank you for joining me today in Acts chapter 17. I just ask you, do not box in God today. Go let him permeate your life, make all your decisions. But thank you for joining me again. I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.